8 o'clock here. And it was about 5:30 in the morning when I woke up and was just excited. It's like, okay, I can't wait for this session. So I'm going to feel good later today. But probably have to have a nap in the afternoon or something like that. This is incredible. You're doing this conference and you're making it work online for the second year, which I guess is a little bit easier. But I tell you, it's still a ton of work for the organizers to put this together. So hats off to them for all the work they do, and for you for being here. You're here, right? And that's the number one thing a teacher does. They got to show up. They just got to be there, and they got to be there with their A game, and they got to be there with their great attitude and their positive outlook, because that's going to just make the weather in their classroom. I always ask what the weather's like wherever people are, right? Well, part of it is because we make our own weather, don't we? And of course, you all know well about that. Okay, going to start with a little bit of something in the chat. I'm looking for some music, okay? Selfish here. I'm looking for some pieces of music that you put on for yourself on a recording when you want to get fired up. You go, okay, you know what? I'm feeling not great today. I want to get fired up. Or perhaps some pieces of music. You can get one or two of those. And then maybe one or two pieces of music that you put on when you want to go to a deep emotional place. What's a piece of music you go to when you want to go to a deep emotional place? And then, how about ones that just bring you joy? Absolute joy. And what are some pieces? Because oh my gosh, look at them. All right. Rock 2, yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. The Promise. Oh, yes. And Joy and Sorrow in the Led Zeppelin, right? Yeah. Fantastic. Depends on the mood, right? Oh, absolutely. I don't know if you ever do this. When you're about to start a class and you're not feeling it, sometimes you walk in there, you're not feeling it. I confess. One of the things I sometimes do is say, let's start with a little listening. Let's start with a little listening. And yeah, it's for them, but sometimes it's for me as well. Sometimes it's for me as well. By the time we've listened to that piece for a little bit, heck, I did Stevie Wonder's Overjoyed the other day. Well, people were in a pretty darn good mood after 2 minutes. We got this great tool called music, so why don't we use it to create the atmosphere in our room? So what are some pieces that you go to? Okay, good. Now my session is over because I've stolen a bunch of good ideas from you, and that's all I need. Quite seriously. No, it's good. So, okay, we've gone through this COVID thing. Yeah, absolutely. Don't want to dwell on that. But what I seem to have figured out talking to teachers over the last couple of months is what has happened when they've come back to school with their students. And they are so happy to be there. All kinds of things that used to worry them are no longer the big deal. They've discovered just how much they miss teaching and how much they miss music and how much it means to them. And that has just been wonderful. Yeah, oh my gosh, we had those days. We've had those days where it's like, oh my gosh, if I have to be on another Zoom call with my students or not see them in person, or we don't get to play, or we spend more time sanitizing things than with anything else, or making bell covers or whatever. But we realize how much we miss making the music, and they also have figured it out. They have figured out how much they have missed the music. And that's the good news. That's the good news. Because right now we're kind of like, okay, we ain't going to take this for granted no more. This is so good. We are not going to take this for granted. When we have a chance to make music, we are going to do it. All right. So today we're going to look at a few things. Okay, you can see there. We're going to talk today about music and human connection. Music and human connection. How does this help us be known to others and know others? We're going to talk about some clarity and focus. Clarity and focus. So, hey, we can't do it all. I've never known any teacher who could do it all. There's always too much to do. But do we have clarity around what's important to us, and do we focus on those things, or do we get distracted? Oh, I'm known to be distracted from time to time. Oh, there goes Facebook, right? Hello. All right. I want to talk about the fact that we actually have a rare opportunity right now as we rebuild programs, because I'll bet you're finding that right now things are not necessarily where they were typically in your programs. And then we're going to talk about how we're going to make it happen. Well, it's a great opportunity, how we're going to make it happen. And then we're going to come back to and look at the purpose and why we do this. Because when we've got our purpose clearly in mind, then everything seems to work. Sound like a plan? We good? All right. Thumbs up, folks. Okay, so I love this video coming up. I'm going to play a little video. And it is a mother singing to a baby. And I want you to figure out why this is just, in many ways, the ideal music lesson. This is it. This is the perfect music lesson. And why? What has contributed it to be the perfect music lesson? And why are we in a place where this perfect music lesson could take place? So. See if I can.
Mommy's gonna sing you a song. You want me to sing a song, honey? Let me know how you feel about the song, okay? I don't want you to come out here no more. I beg you for mercy. You don't know how strong my weakness is, or how much it hurts me. 'Cause when you say it's over with her, I want to believe it's true. So I let you in, knowing tomorrow I'm gonna wake up missing you, wake up missing you, when the one you love's in love with someone else. Don't you know it's torture? I mean, it's a living hell. No matter how I try to convince myself, this time I won't lose control. So I let you in, knowing tomorrow I'm gonna wake up missing you, wake up missing you. Oh, you feel the pain in the song, honey. Big tears. You crying? Oh, you're crying, monkey. Okay, mommy's done. Okay, it's just a song. It's just a song.
Oh, isn't that cool? Wow. So, why is that such a great music lesson? Can you imagine if you finished teaching your grade 8 band class, your grade 8 choir class, and that your students felt the same way that this little one did at the end of your lesson? Would that be incredible? Talk to me, folks. What did you notice? What are some things? We don't have a huge number of people in this class, and I just, wow. So it's nice that we can interact. Go ahead. What did you notice? What did you think?
He was feeling, well, I can't tell exactly what he was feeling, but it seems like he was feeling multiple emotions.
Yeah.
And expressing them in similar ways, like the crying and then the smiling. It was really interesting, actually.
Yeah. Just incredible range, wasn't it? And that face, beautiful.
I think it really speaks to how music transcends language, because that child is not going to understand the words that are being said, but he understands the emotion in the music, the emotion in the notes and the chords and the keys that are being used. And especially when we have classes where we have multicultural students there, that can really help make everybody feel one.
Feel one. Oh, thank you for saying feel one. Okay, I want to think about that one. Feel one. What are the thoughts folks have? Absolutely, Adam. The child was listening, just really totally listening. Incredible focus, wasn't there? They were just in the one place. There was only one time when I saw the eyes kind of go somewhere else. Maybe somebody else is in the room or something like that. But basically, the child was just totally focused.
Had the tears of crying, but not the sounds that you would expect to go along with the child crying.
Yeah. For the expression, there's so much love that my eyes are leaking, type of idea. Absolutely. It's not a sadness, it's just an emotional outlet. And that's, if we just think, if your students had that type of emotional experience every time they came to music class, holy smoke, we'd be banging them, we'd be holding them off. They'd be so much wanting to get into our classrooms. We want to use that emotion. And what's key to that is how safe that little one felt. So much about safety that they could. We're going to come back to that a little bit later. Yeah. Thanks. I love that. Yeah. Fired up. All right. Let's see. There we go. So we're going to focus now a little bit on what matters. So I don't know if you figured out that there's a bunch of stuff that you used to care about in your music programs that don't seem to be quite as big a deal as they used to be. The things that used to have you pulling your hair out and going, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can handle this, get up one more day and do this. And it's like, oh my gosh. And if finding the right read for this kid was my biggest problem right now, I'd be I'd be pretty happy. So what are some of the things that you go, wow, this used to be a big deal to me, but maybe don't matter so much anymore? So I told you this is going to be an interactive session. Sorry. You can put it in the chat or you can speak up, whichever you like.
So I'll speak up. I'm in a bit of a different situation in that I've done substituting for the last number of years, and I'm on my second year-long replacement. So I haven't had the opportunity to have my own program running where I've sort of let go of certain things, sort of a long-term goal. But I do find that my focus very much has shifted to, obviously I'm still doing everything and taking it from the curriculum, but at the end of the day, I want to meet my students where they're at. I want them to have that safety. I want them to want to come to my class. I want them to feel happy when they know they have music sometime that day. So that's all about, to me, I use music as a tool to teach the whole child, as opposed to I teach the child music.
Okay, we're done. Yeah, one of my good friends, Ken used to say he teaches life. The subject happens to be music. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Oh my gosh. Letting go of some things that, just have them come in there and be part of this. What are some other things people have let go of? Okay, I went, well, it should be a big deal. Not so much. I'm patient. I'll wait.
The numbers. I used to really care about the numbers that were in my program. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, we all have ups and downs anyways. And actually, post-COVID, my numbers are not too bad. But I've stopped fighting over numbers and just cared more about who's in the seats, you know.
But you actually have a body there, right? Just have somebody there. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, is anybody's instrumentation kind of wacky these days? Like, you know, sometimes, okay, you had a program, things are going along, and all of a sudden, my gosh, we don't have any trombones left, you know, whatever. But as long as we had kept kids in seats, as long as we get kids in those chairs and we get to can work with them. And every kid we have is precious. Okay. Yeah, okay. Alana's talking about, okay, the Remembrance Day assembly. And that's a big deal. But maybe it's not there. Maybe that's not a goal you can have. And so that's an example. Many performances that are kind of traditions or things that have been really focused for are just not possible. But maybe, okay, that's the way that goes. But the time will come for those. And when it does come, look where we're going to be after that. You know,
early in my career, I was very much focused on the Kiwanis Music Festival and getting these 2 pieces prepared for the spring. And I sort of have let go of that in that, you know what, if they're not perfect, they're not perfect. If we don't get to go to festival, we don't get to go to festival. But letting them experience the music for more enjoyment than for one specific performance, and then not just focusing on these 2 pieces for months when they get sick of them, being able to work on a few more pieces that aren't all going to be as performance ready.
Yes. Oh, so good. More pieces. I like that. Okay. So yeah, festivals, performances, definitely festivals and radians, and the kids just don't sound as good as they used to, perhaps. You know what? They don't. All right.
When it
Maybe
comes to
we're not playing repertoire that's quite as difficult. Sorry, somebody's going to say something?
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, just reminded me of something when it comes to performances. I remember I was working with a group one time, and I used to always be worried about making sure that, you know, everybody could play all the notes by the time it came to performance time. And I was working with these 3rd clarinets, and it was in a high school setting, and they weren't practicing. They really wanted to be in band, but they weren't putting the time in. And so about 2 weeks before the performance, I worked with them to give up on the notes that they didn't know and weren't going to learn before the performance, and to count the rests instead, because they were so disheartened. They would get lost in their music because they were trying to catch up on the notes that they missed, and then they wouldn't end the piece with the band. And so our goal became them counting the notes they didn't know as rests and ending with the band. And they did. And they were so happy at the end of that performance because they let go of what they didn't know and focused on what they did.
And what they could do. Yes, they started together, they ended together. Whoa, there's an accomplishment. There's an accomplishment. Yeah. Fantastic. As I was starting to say, we also probably get used to the fact that, you know what, we used to play level whatever, you know, 27 literature or whatever we call it. You know, there's always these, and you know what, maybe we're not doing that anymore, but that's okay. There's great music at all levels. And don't think that we have to be able to play Armenian dances or the Hounds of Spring or Lincolnshire Posy or whatever it happens to be. Are we going to play something at a much easier level and just do it with some real beauty? Yeah. So what do we care about? We do care about getting them, having kids there. You know, the ones that are there, let's care about them. Let's create some joyful experiences. The moment, you know, every day for them. Let's not worry about the fact that we're not going to play the repertoire, or we're not going to worry about the festival nearly so much, and then we start to focus on things that are important. Now, this whole idea of let's see, yeah. Hope you're seeing. Are you seeing the slide that says focus on? Okay. There we go.
There you go. Now you're on the build.
Yeah. So this idea, now we're going to build. And it is a rare opportunity. Unfortunately, it really is, that we actually get to build a program. I remember talking to a couple of great teachers I've known over the years, Jeff Johnson being one, Colleen Richardson, who now is teaches at Western. And University of Western Ontario in London, and she, she was talking to me about the fact that she had a program, and it kind of started it, and it built and built, and every year the kids sounded a little better than the year before. Sounded just a little better than the year before, and they felt good about it, and they could see their progress. And after 3 or 4 years, and after, for a while, they've been going, and then it kind of got to the point that, I won't say plateaued, but it wasn't necessarily that much better than the year before. It may be different, but maybe not. And she was saying, Bill, how do we maintain enthusiasm in a program? And I guess I was saying to her and to Jeff both, it's like, okay, that building opportunity, that's a once in a lifetime one for some teachers. When the kids go, wow, we sound better than we did last year. I can hear how we sound better than in September. Yeah, that happens every year. But on these building sessions, the building arrows or whatever we call it, the kids really feel the progress in the program and capitalize on that and realize that that's something we don't always get. Because sometimes, you know what, we can get into a bit of a rut. We're sure not in a rut right now. I'll tell you. Sometimes I think I should be striving to be in a rut. If I could please, can I just have something come up tomorrow that I expect? Sometimes over the last couple of years that we're thinking. So it's going to be different, and that's okay. And that's a good thing. So take this and celebrate it, because you don't get that often. Okay? It's unique. There's nothing like it. There is nothing like building a program. I remember many years ago, I was teaching at Glenlawn Collegiate, and we had a disaster. We had a fire at our school, and you know how fire drills go at schools. Fire drill. Okay, all the kids wander out, and then eventually, they think, oh, we're going to miss class or whatever. And some of the band kids say, can we just keep playing, right? And you'll go out there. Well, we started to see the smoke coming out. And so though going into it, we, ended up having a pretty significant fire, and fortunately nobody was seriously hurt. But the entire wing of the school that had all the band program with every instrument, save one, all the music, everything was gone. It just happened to be a day that it was a Wednesday, every kid had band that day, the way the schedule worked. And there was one kid who was sick, so he was home with his instrument. But every other instrument burned. And we went, wow. And at first the kid's like, oh, what's that? The school's on fire. Whoa. And then the tears started to come. And there was about 6 weeks where we were really having trouble doing anything. During the fire, I was on the phone to St. John's Music at the time, getting them to order instruments. And I said, we'll figure out how we're going to pay for them later. And we ended up with about $250,000 of instruments in a warehouse, and I had no purchase order. I kept my job. But we got the things going, and other schools said, oh, I'll lend you this, I'll lend you this. And we were rehearsing, and, some other schools said, okay, why don't you have our band room on a Saturday? So we go to the neighboring school on a Saturday so our kids could still play. But the kids really understood what they missed and how important it was to them. And I think that happened with a lot of kids last year, as well as teachers. They realized how important it is, what they did, and how it was such a huge part of their life and how much they missed it. It's fun to rebuild. It is fun to build. I have to confess, I'm more of a builder than a sustainer sometimes. Once I kind of sometimes, when I'm building something new, I'm excited, and then once kind of like maintaining it, I have trouble keeping concentration a little bit. So I have to work on that. But it's fun to be building something and making it and thinking, what could it be? Because a lot of things we have done before are no longer part of there. Yes, I don't have to spend this 6 weeks on this piece for the festival because there is no festival. Great. Now what can we do? Never waste a crisis, folks. Never waste a crisis. You always have an opportunity. Okay. So, how do we go about doing this? How are we going to go about building? Well, it's two things. One, it's about the relationships, which, I mean, I'm preaching the choir here. Every one of you knows that. It's about the relationships, and I'm just reminding you of what you know. And then the other thing is it's about making music. Well, just before the pandemic, and it was March 13 or something, when everything got shut down instantly. I mean, we knew something was going to happen when the NBA started canceling all their games, right? That was the day I went, okay, something's happening here, right? And I was somewhere conducting an honor band, and and it was the Friday, I guess, and we've been rehearsing Thursday, we're rehearsing Friday. The concert's supposed to be Saturday, and somebody comes in charge of the honor band thing and stops the rehearsal at about 10 after 1 and says, well, we just got a call from the superintendents of all the school divisions. The honor band is over and everybody needs to be on the bus in 20 minutes and going home. Ah! And these kids, they've been pumped. These kids were from all kinds of remote areas and they rarely got to play in a band that was a full instrumentation and all that stuff. And they were so excited. They were just pumped. And I was like, darn. So one kid says, puts up his hand, he says, you know, I'm trying to think, what do I say at this point? Like, how do we bring this to some set of closure, and, you know, as opposed to just stop rehearsal and walk out of the room? And I'm thinking, what do I say? And some kid said, well, can we just play one piece all the way through? I said, sounds great. Of course, it was not polished at that point. There were some things that weren't there. But there were two chaperones in the room. I said, okay, you folks, you're the audience, right? We're going to play such and such. And I introduced it like it was a real concert. And we played through the piece. And the kids packed up. And 20 minutes later, they're on the bus back to Flin Flon and other places. But the thing the kids wanted to do was make music. And I'll tell you, if I'd spent the last 5 minutes of my rehearsal practicing scales or working on articulation or fussing about some tuning, that maybe wasn't the point. That reminds you, that's what we really want to do. We want to focus on making music and we want to focus on relationships. So, relationships. Pretty key ideas. Nothing new to you folks. You're teachers. You know this. You know this. Let's get to be reminded. First, the way you see people is the way you treat them. And the way you treat them is what they become. I love that. The way you see people is the way you treat them. And the way you treat them is what they become. And of course, for me, the key is the first part. How do I see that kid? How do I see them? Do I see them through the same eyes of that mother who was looking at her baby? Or do I see them as the kid who always plays out of tune and is late for class? How do I see them? It's like when you have that student who's really difficult. I don't know if you've ever had one. Challenging? Doesn't pay attention? Whatever. First thing I say when I have a student like that, took me a number of years to figure this out, was the first thing I had to do when you're going to, it's before class, you're going, okay, I've got that class and I've got so-and-so in there. Oh, how's this going to be? Well, the first thing I do is say thank you to myself. Say thank you for that kid. Because that is the kid who's going to make me a better teacher. That is the kid who's going to make me a better teacher. The way you see them is the way you treat them, and the way you treat them is what they become. And second key to relationships, in my mind, is this. Being heard is so close to being loved that for the average person, they are almost indistinguishable. They're almost indistinguishable. How do we make sure we are listening to them and that they know they are being heard? And there's so many ways to do this, but make sure the person feels that they are being heard, because they will feel like they are being loved. Any thoughts? Would anybody like to share some words of wisdom or some things that has resonated with them as I'm putting this out there?
I'm a sharer, so I'll jump in again.
Oh, Jen, thank you.
One thing I found myself saying, especially last year, I had a particularly challenging year with some particularly challenging junior high students. And, making those connections outside of the class, letting them know that every time they come in my class, they get a clean slate. And I would often say, like, when they were exhibiting a behavior that, was essentially unacceptable, I would find an opportunity to quietly say to them, usually quietly, that they're better than this. And so I see them as better than what they're presenting. So instead of just attacking, this is not good, this you can't do, it was about what they were capable of. And the being heard one, I mean, in the moment, it's stopping and giving them your attention. My expectation in my classroom is that if it's somebody's addressing the class, whether it's me or a student, that we all give our full attention. And unless they go off somewhere on a big tangent or somewhere inappropriate, I'm not going to interrupt them either. I want to give them the same respect that I want from them. And also sometimes they'll just drop a little thing in your ear. Myself and Sarah work in the same school, and one of my students, I had this sheet I gave them the first day, and it was sort of finding out about them. And one of the questions was, tell me something you want me to know about yourself. And this one student said, I really want to learn the tenor saxophone. Sarah's the band teacher. I'm the classroom music teacher. And so we've worked together with this student and him getting the information and from his parents. And I'm a saxophone player myself, so it really spoke to me.
Yeah.
And now I think he's starting with the junior band, even though he's a bit of an older student. So, dropping that, giving him the opportunity to tell me something, and then, going and reading all of those sheets and then finding something that I could pull from to then help facilitate for him. So that's a couple of ways that I try and show my students that I'm listening.
Oh, I love those. Those are so good. Absolutely. And it takes a little bit of time, and sometimes we think we don't have time for that, but we really do. And it's really the crux of the thing, and it helps us move. It creates time for us down the road, but just taking those moments to be with them. Had a student walk in one day. She used to come in early every morning. One day she came in, Gabby walked in. She was kind of looking down. Like I just went over, said, Gabby, you're not looking your, bubbly. So hey, how are you doing? She says, oh, I'm okay. It's just that my grandmother was kidnapped again. Your grandmother is kidnapped again? As it turned out, her grandmother was from Mexico, and her uncles were fairly wealthy, and so they would kidnap her. Grandmother would be kidnapped, and the brothers would pay the ransom, and the drug cartel folks would drop her off by the side of the road. The things that kids bring to our classroom. It's like, what? We have no idea. We have no idea. It's when she said again. It's like, anyway, we have no idea what's going on in their lives. Okay. So, relationships. Boy, it's about creating those relationships. And to me, those two things, if you want to take a screenshot of those two quotes, go ahead. Because those ones I think are really, really important to me and become more important over the years. So, the second part is let's make music. And this sounds so darn obvious, right? Sing and play. That's what we missed last year. That's what we missed. We missed the singing and the playing and the relationships. We missed their faces. We missed their faces. Maybe still do. But that's where I was getting back to the honor band. What did they want to do? They didn't want to work on the tuning in measure 7. They said, can we simply play? And how often do we just not make time in our rehearsals to simply, can we just play through the piece? I'll bet everybody here has gone to rehearsal where the conductor stops, and you go, can we just play through the thing? Right? Go ahead and do that for no other reason than just they have the musical experience. Second thing, play more rep, not more difficult rep. I can't emphasize this enough. You will be so much happier if your band is playing at a grade 2 level, whatever that means, and you've played one grade 2 piece or two grade 2 pieces and say, okay, we better go on to the grade 3 pieces. No, play 8 of them. If they can't sound like pretty decent through the piece by the second day, then it's too hard. You want to get to the music, and the skills will build by playing more rep, and their reading will improve. Third, play melodies. Please play melodies. Folk melodies, I am a huge fan of folk melodies. And you do them in class, and you can teach them by ear, which is highly recommended, but then also you have them written out. So you write out The Water's Wide, or you write out whatever your folk melody wants to be. And here's one of the tricks, though. Don't put any markings on it. No articulations, no dynamics, no tempo, no nothing. And then you say to the student, okay, I want you to think of a feeling that you think would go with this music. Oh, what's a feeling that would go with the music? Okay, now I want you to write in on your page all the markings that you're going to put in that are going to help create that feeling. And some kids are going to make it into a dance, and some people are going to make it incredibly emotional and subtle. But they're going to choose, and I guarantee that once they do that, they will start paying more attention to all the markings that are on the page in other pieces, because they realize they're for a reason, because they're the place that helps us get to the emotion and the feeling in the music. Play pieces with melodies. I adjudicated a band a number of years ago, and it was it was a young band, and it was really good, and the composition was great, and there were bunches on the panel, and everybody kind of, well, that's a new piece for a young band. That's a really good piece of music. What a good piece of music, because it just conceptually just worked so well and was so effective, even though it was like a grade 1.5 level. And then we looked at it a little further, and we realized, okay, yeah, that's fine, but the trombone player plays D and G for the whole piece. In other words, never moves out of 4th position. Well, I don't know if that kid's going to be back next year. Do they get to play some melody? So write out unison melodies for your band all the time. Play pieces that have rhythm. Rhythm is infectious. COVID's infectious. Rhythm's more infectious, much more infectious, and there's no vaccine, okay, for rhythm. Kids will put rhythm, and if you want rhythm, you put syncopation. Find some pieces that have some syncopation. Because if you got those kids, a little syncopation, that's what they're going to be singing as they walk out your room. Dun, 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 whatever. Something that has some syncopation to it. So great melodies and great rhythm with syncopation. Fundamentals. Every day, you cannot cram skill. Posture, breathing, embouchure, hand position, tone quality. Every day, to quote my friend Clinton Marshall, as you're teaching fundamentals, make sure that you do many repetitions at each stage. Never say, do it one more time, because that's a lie. You know it, it's a lie. But you say, let's do it 3 more times correctly. And say, we're just trying to get this automatized for you so it feels really natural and comfortable. So let's do it 3 more times correctly. And then don't do it over and over. Do it better and better. You say those kids, okay, 4 more times correctly, but not over and over, better and better. And then that's how you work in the fundamentals. And then, I can't say this enough, let your face be the music. Just like that little baby was letting his face or her face be the music, You let your face be the music. Do you ever practice your conducting? I don't know. Most people don't get around to it because they're so busy with other things. But, take 5 minutes here and there in your basement with a mirror or something like that. And practice all those things. But then say, I'm going to conduct this piece and I'm going to conduct it only with my face. You want to make connections with your students? Conduct with your face. Quit having them look at the beat. They've got it. They don't need that. Get them to look at your face. You see the beauty inside them and they see the beauty inside of you. Next, find something good and help it grow. I've said this so many times. You go into rehearsal looking for mistakes, and trying to correct this and wrong note there and miss key signature there and person's playing upside down over there, whatever. Or you can find one kid or one thing that the band is choir is doing well, and you go, wow, let's celebrate that. And I guarantee it'll take over. There will still be some things to deal with, little things to deal with. But most of the things will take care of themselves if you just find out the things that are good. Oh, Jen, what a beautiful tone. Thank you for that. Let's play again. Well, think everybody doesn't play with a beautiful tone? Absolutely. Alana, I love the way your articulation on that phrase is just so light. Thank you so much. Do you think the whole band isn't going to have better articulation? Absolutely. And is Alana doing going to be better? Absolutely. Absolutely. So find something good and help it grow. All right. Now I've got 2 ways to go here. Need a little help. I've got 2 short videos. One is tough, and the other is joyful and gives us a feeling of triumph. Ideally, I'd like to do both, but I'll tell you the tough one is tough. So, one, let's see. Put 1, just do the happy one in the chat. If you put a 2, say do them both. Okay, I want to figure out what people want to do. Where do you want to go? Oh, you want to get the tough stuff. Okay, here we go.
When people are very old and deteriorated and no one enters their world and they're just sitting there, they will withdraw inward more and more. And their desperate need for connection is all now inside. And if a person is all alone, even if they're very, very deteriorated, there's a longing for this kind of closeness. Mrs. Wilson? Hello? You want me to sit? Can you see me good? Gladys Wilson is a wonderful example of a person who is in the phase of repetitive motion, where people use movements, repetitive movements, because they don't have any more speech or very little speech, but they have human needs that need to be expressed. Crying. You have a tear right here in your face. You have a little pain. You don't want me to touch you. You're very sad. Can you see me? Is it scary? Are you afraid? And if this person sits with their eyes closed, rocking back and forth, and maybe there's a tear coming down, there's a need there. There's a little tear that's coming up. You feel it? You feel a little tear? If you gently use touch, and I touched Gladys Wilson for the fingertips right here on the cheek, is where the mother usually touches a child. If you touch an infant there, it looks up. And every cell remembers where it was touched by the mother. And often that person knows, even if they can't say a word at that moment, they won't talk, or they don't want to talk, but there's a communication. And that person is no longer alone. Can you let me in a little bit? You think? Just a little? Think I could be with you and Jesus for a minute? Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. I used music, because when speech is gone, music, especially with Gladys Wilson, it was religious music, because there's emotion tied to it and safety tied to it. So I used her old church song, Jesus loves me, yes, Jesus loves me, yes, Jesus loves me, the Bible tells me so. What I did was, when she moved, I moved with her. And when I was singing, because she didn't sing with me, so I matched the intensity of my voice to the intensity of her movement. And pretty soon, for a split second, we became one person. Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. So at one point, when she got very quiet and very peaceful, and my voice became very quiet as hers and very peaceful, and my breathing slowed to her breathing, she pulled me to her, and I moved with her. And for her, at that moment, I believe I was a symbol of her mom. Can you open your eyes now? Do you see me? You'll save the Lord. Yes. You see me? He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the mothers and the fathers. He's got the mothers and the fathers in his hands. He's got the mothers and the fathers in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. The breakthrough doesn't happen every time. A person will not always open their eyes and look at you. But if you keep trying and you keep centering yourself and really look at that person and really mirror their movements, maybe not this time, but the next time you come, you'll have a communication. You'll say that with Jesus and me.
That is just so powerful to me, and I've seen it so many times. And it just to me speaks to why you are doing this, my friends. You are bringing music. You are bringing music to people, something that will be there for their whole life. And music really is about making human connection. We want to make human connection. We want to feel what another person feels. When you're in a ensemble and you do a crescendo together and you feel it together, oh my gosh, what was that? You're feeling what another person feels. And if you're feeling what they feel, we're creating empathy. And if we can create empathy, we can create a more compassionate society. Or compassionate society. So I'm going to finish today with a sense of triumph. This one is a sense of triumph, this video. And the final words from this, and many of everybody will probably know this song. I'm sure you know this, probably even this video. But there are a couple of things. One is that the final words are like "I will win" or "I will triumph," translated from the Italian. And so, the power of music to give us strength and give us courage. Give us courage to meet the challenges, whether they be a COVID challenge, whether they be in the day-to-day challenges that we face in our job. But music can give us courage. And if we can give music to students, we can give them courage. And encourage you to watch his face and let your face be the face, especially at the very end, and see the feeling that is communicated through the music and the face. And could your face be that way as a conductor and as a teacher when you're responding to the beauty that the students create? There we go. There we go. Just so powerful. Just so powerful. Whether we saw the baby at the beginning, or whether we saw Gladys Wilson in the later days of her life, or we see Pavarotti in the middle, it's about creating human connection through music. And by creating human connection, we are going to create a more compassionate society. You don't know what a privilege and an honor it is to be asked to be with you today. I want to thank Sarah and Trish, obviously, and for helping make it possible for me to share this with you. I hope it's maybe giving a little inspiration today. And I hope I will see you again sometime. And best wishes for you and your students and doing overhead.
Thank you so much, Bill. So great. I don't know. I feel lighter after, even though there's some heaviness to a lot of that, but I feel lighter, and it's very exciting to hear you and be inspired. So thank you again so much for being with us today, and I'll pass it back over to.
Thank you so much, Bill. Fantastic. Before we finish things up here, I'm going to spin that wheel. So I'm going to share my tab and bring up my wheel. And we're sharing that. And we're going to spin it.
For the notes and resources. He is so graciously sharing with all of us.
And Alana, you are our winner. Are you here with us, Alana? Yes. You wanted man, you're lucky. Now, I will give you the option. Would you like a second swag, or would you like to gift it on to someone else?
For some prizes. You got to be here to win.
I thought that would be, I know Alana, and I know she would do that. All right. Courtesy of Alana, we're spinning again, my friends.
Jen Stratton is here.
And we have Kylie. Hooray! Thank you, Alana, for sharing that on. So thank you all so much for being here this morning. I know that this session has just been that's just about all I can say about it. So, Bill, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. We do have our lunch break now, and then we have some sessions and our keynote and our CMEA awards this afternoon. So I look forward to seeing you all later on today. So thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you, everyone.
That's already, I think we're getting to the point where a lot of people have won already. Okay. I'll see what I can do. Kelly, we're still recording. I need to turn off this recording.